I love that. I love that intro. Every time it just gets me going. I'm hyped. I'm ready to start talking some CDK. So hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I'm doing a little microphone magic today. So for anyone watching the stream, hopefully the microphone's coming in clear and we sound good. So I'm going to get right into it. So for this stream, we're going to talk about a feature that we launched in preview at reInvent, which was just a few weeks ago, but frankly feels like it was forever ago. And essentially this feature, this is called CDK Migrate. So the goal of this feature, and again, it's in preview, but keep an eye out over the next, couple of weeks, few weeks to see what, what's coming with it and all the good stuff that's going to be announced. But essentially the idea behind this feature is there's a lot of customers out there, a lot of users of infrastructure as code that are, using CloudFormation. They're defining their resources declaratively, using like YAML or JSON, which is like a declarative, configuration language. And, the CDK has been growing in popularity over the past few years, as more and more L2s are coming in, these abstractions, AKA CDK constructs. More and more folks are enticed to jump into the CDK and leverage all of the great functionality that comes with it. All that said, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to just jump into it. And especially if you're, deeply invested in CloudFormation, you're very used to that workflow and the configuration language of YAML or JSON, it could be overwhelming coming into the CDK and starting to learn and define your infrastructure as code templates using a general programming language. So with CDK Migrate as it sits today in preview, you can, as a CloudFormation user, you can actually leverage the CDK Migrate command via the CDK CLI to actually review or introspect a CloudFormation template or an existing CloudFormation stack that's deployed and migrate that into CDK code. So one of the first questions that we usually hear when we start talking about this feature is, what's the difference between CDK Migrate and CDK Import? So a few years back, CloudFormation released functionality to import resources into CloudFormation. And CDK Import just leverages that feature and that functionality. And essentially what's happening with the CDK Import is we're telling, when you run that command, we're saying this particular resource that exists in AWS that was built outside of infrastructure as code, like an S3 bucket, we want to take that resource and now manage it via infrastructure as code. So the thing with CDK Import and CloudFormation Import is you then have to go and define that resource exactly as it exists today in your region, in your AWS account. So it's very easy to overlook something or to miss something, and it can be a struggle to try to figure out exactly how you need to define that resource in code to make sure that it matches that, and when you deploy your template or make any changes or updates to your template, that you don't somehow change that resource and make a mistake and modify it or change it in any way. So CDK Migrate handles that import functionality, but it also, for existing CloudFormation stacks, but in addition to that, it will actually generate the CDK code for you. So your template that was, or your stack that was deployed, you can now realize that and visualize that in your own CDK application. The code is automatically generated and written for you, and then you can build on top of that, and it gives you kind of a head start into the CDK if you're using CloudFormation. So let's dive right into the feature. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to walk through two scenarios. So the first scenario we're going to walk through is going to be if we're going to look at this as I have a local CloudFormation template, and I want to take that template and I want to convert it into CDK code. And specifically, I want to convert that into CDK TypeScript code. So we're going to walk through the CLI, and we're going to convert a local CloudFormation template file and convert that into CDK. And also what we'll do is we'll look at a CloudFormation template that has already been deployed. So imagine you've deployed and managed this CloudFormation template into a CloudFormation stack. We're going to, via the CDK Migrate command, we're going to point that command to an existing stack and see how it generates the CDK application code for us. And then we'll actually show what it looks like when you run a deployment to see how it responds to those resources that already exist and how it can actually take over the management of that CloudFormation stack. Okay, so first and foremost, if we take a look here, and by the way, feel free if you have any questions or there's anything you want to touch on, please feel free to reach out in the chat. So what we have here is a CloudFormation template, and it's a very basic template, so nothing fancy. But essentially what we have here is we're creating an S3 bucket, a Lambda function with a Lambda execution role, and we have an output that just basically generates an output of the CDK bucket, or I'm sorry, the S3 bucket name. CDK is always on the brain. So there's a couple of things here that are dynamic, and I wanted to have these included here because I think it's it makes the demo a little more impactful, and we'll show how we can change those parameters and those inputs to show how it's working in real time. So this is our template, and so the first thing we'll do is we're going to run the CDK Migrate command against this local template that we have, which is right here. So if we look at ls demo template.yaml. So this is my CloudFormation template. And so I have the CDK installed. I'm in an empty directory here. And the what will happen when we run this command is it's going to generate the CDK app. It'll create a new directory, and then we'll go look through all that code and see what it looks like. So we're going to run a CDK Migrate, and we're going to pass in a stack name. And again, I just want to reiterate, this is in preview right now. So some of this functionality may change when we go generally available. But again, the general sentiment around the feature should remain the same. So we're going to name this CDK local template demo. And should I add migrate in there? Let's add migrate in there. Demo. And then we'll pass in. So here's what's cool is the CDK allows you to define your infrastructure as code using various programming languages such as TypeScript, Python, Java. For my use case, I'm going to generate this using TypeScript, Go, and there's other languages that are supported as well. Check out the CDK documentation for that. And then we're going to pass in the from path parameter here. And we're going to pass in the demo template.yaml file. So we have CDK Migrate. We're saying here's what we want to name the stack. The language we want our CloudFormation code to be converted to when it's converted to the CDK app, and then the location of my CloudFormation template. So let's hit enter. And oh, you know what I was going to say is like usually something goes wrong with my demos and we got to fix it in real time, but it looks like it's doing great right now. So what's happening is the CDK CLI is initializing our CDK application, and it's creating the all the boilerplate code. So like if you run a CDK init, it creates the boilerplate code, the package JSON, and some kind of basic starter code to get you going. So in this case, it's doing that, but then it's taking it a step further, and it's converting this CloudFormation template into CDK code. So what we have here is our directory CDK local template migrate demo, and we have all of our directories. Again, we have our package JSON, tsconfig, everything that comes with initializing a CDK app when you initialize it for the first time is all here. And then we have our CDK app definition here. So let's actually open that. So this is how we create our CDK app. So again, it gives you all the skeleton code you need to get started. And I'm going to pass in these environment values. And then, but this is not the code, obviously, that was converted. So if we look in the lib directory and we look at our demo stack, you can see here the CDK Migrate generated all of this code for me. So again, I had a CloudFormation template, and CDK Migrate generated this CDK application code. It gave me the CDK stack with, now if you notice here, it created an interface, because in our CloudFormation template, I'm going to go back here, we had two parameters defined. So with CDK, when you want to pass inputs into your app, generally you'll create an interface and then pass those inputs into your app through, through the properties and through the interface. So it converted these input parameters in CloudFormation and made them input properties as an interface to our CDK stack class. So you can see here, it has the default set. So if you look, I had default set here. It created the defaults for me. And then it basically created these two parameters. So it generated this code. You can see here, if those input properties are not defined, it will stick with the defaults. And then it goes on and creates all those things that were in CloudFormation for me here. So you can see we have our Lambda execution role, our S3 bucket, our tags. So again, these are the things that were dynamic, that are passed in through our input properties and everything. So everything that was defined in our CloudFormation template has been converted to CDK code in TypeScript. Now, if you're familiar with the CDK and the various levels of constructs, what you'll notice here is all of these, the constructs that are used are L1 constructs. And L1 constructs, or level 1 constructs in the CDK, map directly to their CloudFormation resource types. So what you see here, and the reason for that is, as you go up with levels of constructs, when you get to level 2 constructs, there's some more, there are defaults baked in, a little more opinion baked into those constructs that may override some of the configurations that you have set in your CloudFormation template. So these are all level 1 construct resources that get created. And what you can do is then build on top of this. So this gave me a very fast way to start working in the CDK, convert my CloudFormation template into my CDK code, and then I can start building from there. And so if we just run in this one, CDK, let's run a CDK synth. It should synthesize my CDK code into CloudFormation, which I get is kind of funny because we're going from CloudFormation to CDK. But remember, the CDK, when it synthesizes the cloud assembly, which is the definition of the resources that are getting deployed to CloudFormation or via CloudFormation, it is just a CloudFormation template at the end of the day. So it synthesized my app, and then if we run a CDK diff, we can actually see what resources will get created. So it creates a change set, and then it's going to show me those resources. So while it does this, you can see here's all the resources it's going to create. Why don't we just try to deploy it and see what breaks? So we're going to run a CDK deploy. Now, hopefully my environment variables are set properly, but essentially what this is going to do is deploy my CDK app that we just generated from that CloudFormation template. So this is the first use case with CDK Migrate, where it can take you from that local template file that you have, convert it into CDK code, and then you can deploy a brand new stack from that converted template into CDK code. So this is going to deploy. This takes maybe a minute or two, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to convert a live stack. So a CloudFormation template that's already been deployed, we're going to convert that to a CDK app, and then also show you how when we convert it to that CDK app, how our CDK app will actually take over the management of that existing stack. So you can see it's all done. I was able to convert that template into a CDK app and then deploy my CDK application, and it's all done and good to go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is switch over to, let's see, the AWS console, and I want to look at, let's see, I'm losing my train of thought as I'm trying to talk. Let's see here. So we'll go in the console. Okay, perfect. And again, I'll zoom in. Hopefully folks can see. And yes, absolutely. So thank you for the question. Will the recording of this session be available? Yes. Check out the YouTube channel, cdk.live. So that's our URL. And this is where you'll be able to see the recordings of all of our live shows, anything we talk about CDK related. So definitely check it out there. Okay, so let's zoom in here. That looks good. Hopefully that zoomage is good. So I'm going to go to CloudFormation. And so you can see here's my deployed stack that I deployed from my local converted template. So my CloudFormation template converted CDK app. Here it is, deployed, looking amazing. All is really good. I also have a stack that's already been deployed. So this is the CDK Migrate demo stack. So what you'll see here is this is a stack that has been deployed. All of these resources exist, and they are managed by CloudFormation right now. So what we'll do, and yeah, so if you go to cdk.live, you can see here that takes you to the YouTube page. Okay, so for our CDK Migrate demo stack, what we're going to do now is go back to the IDE. We're going to point to this stack and see what happens. So let's switch our screen share here, and then we're going to go back to our IDE. I should have just shared my full screen. I know. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go back to the root of the directory here. And now what we're going to do is run the CDK migrate command to migrate that stack, that existing CloudFormation that's already deployed, into a local CDK app that is then pointing to that stack to take over management of those resources. So we're going to run CDK migrate again. And this time we're going to pass the stack name of the existing stack in CloudFormation. And again, we're going to say language TypeScript from stack, and then we'll do CDK migrate demo. And also what I'm going to do here is just pass in some other details. It's my account number. We'll pass this in. I have this pasted here, or copied here. And then we'll pass in the region of US West too. Okay, so we're running the CDK migrate. Here's the stack name, the language we want it to be converted to, and from what stack name and what region and what account. Now again, this stack exists upstream. Oh, perfect. Let's see what's going on here. So we have an error not found. So hang on. Let's do ngrep CDK. Okay. I have to change. No, that shouldn't do it actually. Let's see. It may, but we'll see. We'll see if we get that error. And let's make sure I have the proper name for my stack. So CDK migrate demo. If I go look at, it's not on the same screen, so I'm just going to quickly look. Oh, it's lowercase, see? Tisk. Okay, so I changed, the name was a little different, so we're going to just go lowercase here, CDK. Is that right? CDK migrate demo, yeah, so it should just all be lowercase. Those two. Perfect. Okay, so now what's happening is the CDK CLI is looking at my stack that's deployed in my account in this particular region. it's generating the CDK application code, because again, this is a template, right? This is a CloudFormation template that was deployed. So it's generating all of that code, or that template into CDK code, and then it is also going to take over the management of those resources that were deployed through this stack. So it essentially takes over that stack. So now let's go to that directory, Migrate demo. And again, the code will look the same as what we saw in the other application. So all the same things, okay? But if we look here, let's look at our parameters. So actually, let's go to our resources and let's look at, I realize I'm not sharing it. I'm just going to share the full screen. Let's do that. So I'm going to share it. So good, as I switch over, is the CDK Migrate beta release, or is it available as fully supported? So right now, CDK Migrate is in preview, but keep an eye out over the next few weeks as we work to make it generally available. So thank you for the question. I'm going to switch my screen share because it just needs to be full screen here. Let's go entire screen, although it may be a little tough to see. This is the only problem. Let's see. I'm going to try it out here. Let's see. Is that super hard to see? It is tough to see that, huh? All right. Sorry, going through the motions here. We're gonna switch back to this, and I just want to show here what we have is okay. So we had our CloudFormation template. This is the one we took over. Okay, and we have our functions here, and you can see our Lambda function. The way it works is it just grabs an environment variable, which is function response, which is a parameter that we pass in into this stack here. Okay, so we stuck with the default here. So if we were to run this right now, and again, this is managed by, and we'll run test, and this is managed by CloudFormation, not CDK. You can see here's my response, which is CloudFormation created. So now let's go back to our CDK application. Let's make some changes and then try to deploy an update to this stack to see what that looks like. So we'll head back to here. And so we have, again, our CDK app. I'm going to go down to here. And remember, CDK Migrate created those properties for me as an interface to my stack class. So if I want to pass in an override here, I'll change function response to CDK Migrate successful. And now what should happen is this should be the only thing that changes in my CDK app. So if I were to run a CDK diff, and one thing before we see the output here to bring up is there's still, while it's in preview, it may show some outputs here that may look a little different, like that appear to be changing the stack. These are all these are just some minor things that are changed to work with the CDK. There's some metadata we add, but nothing is actually changing with the resources that were already created. So what you can see here is our function response should change, and our bucket value should stay the same. So if we just run a CDK deploy, so I'm running a CDK deploy, and what we'll do is head back to CloudFormation, and what we should see, if we can catch it in time, is CloudFormation is actually going to update. Oh shoot, let's see if I can get that share going in time. and we go back to here, what we can see is our CDK Migrate demo stack is being updated, okay? And again, some of the things that change here are like the resources themselves aren't changing, but just some of the template and the stack specifics, the stack details may be a little different. But those resources that are managed by CloudFormation are remaining the same, with the exception that I updated my Lambda function with that new environment variable. So if we go back to my function, so remember this was CloudFormation created. Let's go back to, let's actually just refresh the page here. And we're going to test the function again, and let's see what that output is. So remember, this is that same resource that was managed by that CloudFormation stack. I run test, I invoke, and you can see that the response output is CDK Migrate successful. Notice that my function remained the same. Nothing changed. So again, we migrated this function, which was deployed through a CloudFormation stack, into our CDK app. The CDK app took over ownership of the stack, and the only thing that changed was the environment variable that I changed in the CDK app, and we can see that everything else remained the same. Nothing else was changed. Like it didn't break the S3 bucket that was deployed or the Lambda function. Those all remained intact. So that's the demo. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out in chat. But again, just to address some of those questions that we saw, one, CDK Migrate today is it's in preview. So, you know, and when you run the CDK Migrate command from the CLI on your own, you will see that. We make it clear that this is in preview. It's not GA'd yet. But I highly recommend checking it out. Take your CloudFormation templates that you have deployed. If you were looking to migrate to the CDK, but you needed, kind of that push because, the on-ramp can be challenging. It can take time to learn something new. This is a great way to get started with the CDK. Take something you've built with CloudFormation, run the migrate command, and test it out, get comfortable with it, and play around with it. Now, again, this is in preview, so don't take a stack that's been deployed to production and immediately take ownership of it with CDK Migrate. Look through it, see what the outputs are. When you run a CDK diff, make sure you test this out and vet it. But other than that, keep an eye on this feature. It's going to, we're continually working on it. And again, over the course of the next few weeks, keep your eyes peeled. We have some really cool things coming out. And especially with CDK Migrate, we're building some really cool integrations. So that said, I'll wrap up with our show schedule for next week. So if you're not subscribed to CDK Live already, please check it out. I highly recommend it because that's a little selfish, but we have a lot of really great content on there, and I just want to walk through. So next week we have a couple shows coming up. One on the 24th, we're going to. There was a team at AWS that built generative AI CDK constructs, and these are really cool, really great way to, again, when we talk about higher level constructs in the CDK, they have a lot of defaults built in. They make the on-ramp to building a new service a lot lower, I guess, an on-ramp. So they make it a lot lower, and they enable you to get started and to build faster and to leverage all these really neat integrations, and they stitch a lot of the boilerplate together as well. So we're going to have the team come on. They're going to show us how to build generative AI applications using the CDK and using these constructs, and they have a really cool sample app that I highly recommend checking out. And then we're also going to talk about the day after, on the 25th, we'll talk about simplifying cross-account deployments with the CDK. And for that show, Pahud will be joining us, and he's going to dive deep into that and show us how the CDK can help simplify deploying across accounts and so on. So that said, let's see, one more question we'll take here. Very helpful feature. So CDK Bootstrap template is full privileges resource. If that Bootstrap template is trimmed, I hope it won't impact anything as long as permissions are there. So when you bootstrap your CDK accounts, you also, and regions, you can pass in your own IAM policies and roles. You just obviously have to make sure, and that's going to require a lot of testing and vetting to make sure that once you bootstrap and the CDK basically assumes the bootstrap role or the CloudFormation template and CDK CLI assume that role to deploy. You just want to make sure that you test it and that your permissions do work. But absolutely, you can customize that to fit within the needs of your organization. We see a lot of folks doing that. So that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining. You can always reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn. Twitter, it's just @RealAdamJKeller. LinkedIn, it's just Adam Keller. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining, and we will talk to you very soon.